Hi everyone, I am Kristen Holstrom from the Custody Queens, and I am also a certified family law specialist, and I am super excited to be here with all of you on Parents' Day. I want to take a second just to recognize what Parents' Day is. Parents' Day came about in 1994. We had Bill Clinton and Trent Lott, who were two adversarials in the political regime, and they actually came together to create Parents' Day. And that is kind of the whole premise of co-parenting. And I want to just talk a little bit about some points that have come up, especially with everything that's going on in our world right now. With COVID, there's just some highlights that I want to bring to you guys. So working together is just really important, especially for your children. I'm not going to elaborate because I think Ben did a great job talking about all of the issues that comes up with co-parenting and the emotional and the trauma that can create for children when parents go through long litigious battles and they put themselves first and they don't really focus on the children. Being focused on the children means several things. It means putting your own emotions aside. It means putting the children first, regardless of what's more important for you as a parent. And I'd like to let you know that I am a mom of 3, and co-parenting is tough even when you are married. Co-parenting is for all parents, whether you're married, separated, newly separated, divorced. It takes a lot of work every day. It is not something that just happens naturally, just like your job, your education. You have to work at it. You have to put in the time. You have to educate yourself. Figure out what you're doing wrong. Look in the mirror and see how everything that you do affects your children. Because your children, they replicate your actions. And that's really what I want to talk about today. And working together is even more critical right now in today's world than even 6 months ago. And I'll tell you why. Because first of all, the courts are open, at least in California. I can only speak on California. They are opened in somewhat limited capacities. Obviously, restraining orders and emergency custody hearings are generally still held in the courtroom in person, but there are delays. Trials are being done over Zoom or telephone. That creates logistical issues for attorneys. They're virtual, so you can't really get in front of a judge and plead your case and show your emotion because it is somewhat challenging doing that over the phone or virtually. And so with all of those going on, mediation appointments are over the phone. Sometimes people don't get notices, which can cause a further delay. So in a nutshell, it can take months to get a hearing date. Now, obviously, there are times when you have to hire an attorney or you have to go to court, and I am not minimizing that at all. But I am stressing the importance to come together and work together during this time. Because, like I said, it can take months to get to court, and your children are truly the victims when you guys can't put together an agreement or you can't make simple decisions of whether the child should play soccer. Nobody knows your children better than you, mom and dad. And that's just the fact. I can tell you that I've been an attorney now for nearly 10 years. And oftentimes you're in front of a judge for 5 minutes, 20 minutes, and a lot of those judges will tell you that they don't know your children. They don't know what they like for breakfast. They don't know what their favorite colors are. They don't know what gives them anxiety. They don't know what they want to do at bedtime or their bedtime routine. Nobody knows that but you as parents. And that is why it is so important for communication. And any of my clients will tell you that I am a firm believer in communication. And Talking Parents, who is putting on this awesome webinar, is a great platform to start. If you're not sure how to co-parent, a co-parenting vehicle such as Talking Parents is a great place to start. It allows you to have non-passive aggressive communication with the other spouse. It allows you to educate the other spouse of events, school events, soccer events, basketball events, parent-teacher conferences. I'm a huge fan of over the phone, like Ben mentioned. I do think that is a great effective communication, but a lot of people aren't there. And if you let your emotions get involved over the phone, or you don't like the tone of voice that's involved, or if there's someone in the background, it kind of can set you off. So I like to write everything down. I think it's super important as an attorney to have your plan and to know what you're going to say and know, what your plan is. So I always advise my clients, when you're writing a talking parents message or any other vehicles out there that work for you, you guys have to find out a platform that works for you. Always read what you're going to send. Does it send aggressive? Are you being accusatory instead of simply asking? For example, I often get this a lot where the child will have a scratch or a bruise that may not have been there when the child left their care. And knowing that I have 3 kids, things happen. And so my first advice is to reach out on Talking Parents and ask, how did it happen? Instead of coming from the position of accusing, ask, communicate. Do you know how this happened? Is there something that we can do to maybe make sure this doesn't happen again? Communication is truly key. And I am a firm believer in therapy, I think, along with Nikki, who was presenting before. But my advice too is always take care of your side of the street. A super important woman told me that 20 years ago, and it holds true to today. You cannot control the other parent's actions. You can only control yourself. So when you are communicating, trying to set plans, make sure that you are always taking care of your side of the street first. You can't control how they're going to respond. You can't control their actions, but you can always take care of your side of the street. And I get a lot of people that ask me questions, well, what if the other parent won't keep the same rules in place? Or what if they won't agree to modify the schedule? Then you do your best to always co-parent for yourself. You can't control them, but if you are co-parenting, there's a much higher success rate in your plan. So that's some of the advice I've given over the years. There's a lot of times when you not necessarily can co-parent if child abuse is involved or sexual abuse is involved and you have to hire an attorney. Clearly, co-parenting might not be the option at that point, and I would absolutely encourage you to hire an attorney to get legal advice and to really take care of your child, because obviously child safety is number one. We had a great DV webinar on our Custody Queens website that actually took place in April. So if you need some advice on domestic violence, please go to www.custodyqueens.com for a really in-depth discussion about domestic violence. But most of my cases can actually be resolved with settlement, with some education, with some coaching, with some legal advice. I always start from the premise as an attorney is, can I settle this case? Do I have 2 people that are reasonable, that are willing to come to the table to let go of some of their emotional things and really come together? Because the best settlement is neither one of you is getting really, truly everything you want. And that's really true for any contract or any agreement, even outside of co-parenting. And if that's the case, I work collaboratively with other attorneys. If they don't have an attorney, I work with the other side, and I get what my client's wish list is. I speak with them. I talk to them about what is reasonable, what the court would likely do if we were to go to court. And then I draft a proposal and I send it to the other side. And more often than not, we can come to an agreement. And that agreement will save thousands of dollars in attorney's fees. It will save a lot of time and a lot of stress off each parent. It keeps your kids from being involved in a courtroom. I can tell you there's nothing that I hate more than having to put a child on the stand to interview the child and ask questions about the other parent. I very rarely do that. The courts do not like it at all because it really has significant trauma to the kids. And so I really start from that premise of how do we make this work? Because like I said, most of the time I can make it work. And what I love to see is when I talk to my clients about being flexible. Okay, I know that you've always had Christmas, but this year he wants to take a trip to Hawaii. Obviously nobody's going to Hawaii anytime soon right now. But if that's the case, I teach my clients to be flexible because things are going to come up. Things happen that are completely out of our control. Children get sick. There's conferences. Parents have to work late. And when parents are flexible, that is when you succeed. Now, when there's an issue, if there's an issue of one parent claiming that someone isn't returning phone calls or that they're not making the child available for FaceTime visits, then I always encourage my clients to keep the detailed journal. And that is not only a journal to themselves, but it also helps us as attorneys to kind of look at the big picture and say, okay, you said to me that they never answer any of their phones. Well, when I'm looking at the talking parents, which documents every time that somebody logs on or every time somebody reads or somebody posts, then I can show my client, well, that just happened once. So let's look at this from a different perspective, and let's come from the position that it's just something that happened one time. And then people can really hold themselves accountable. And when each parent holds themselves accountable, that's when this works. That is truly when this whole big picture comes together. And I have a lot of questions that come up a lot. And so I just wanted to go over a few of those. And I actually see some questions coming in. So I'm going to do my best to answer them. The first one that I see on my screen is, how can you prove someone is, your co-parent is lying? So the best way to do that is to use Talking Parents or another platform that you're comfortable with, and to document it. Okay, for the biggest thing I get with lying is they never told me that they were going to be an hour late, or they never told me, they never offered the time to me, they never did anything. So if you go on Talking Parents and you document that you were going to be late, or that you were offering an extra week of vacation, or that you were telling them about the parent-teacher conference, or that you were showing the other parent's school records, that is the best way, because guess what? Nobody can change what you write, and it shows if the other side actually looked at it or responded, and it's all documented. So that is a great way. Nowadays, text messages, there's apps. I mean, you guys would be amazed at what I deal with, but there's an app that can recreate text messages. It can change times, it can change dates, it can show that a message was sent or not sent or read. And so I always advise my clients, yes, text messaging and calling is always preferred. But when you have a case where you're trying to prove the other side is lying, I really rely heavily on a platform and a vehicle that documents everything. And Talking Parents is a great one. Next question, what should you do if a parent refuses to follow a court order? This goes back to, you can only take care of your side of the street. You can only make sure that you are following the court orders, even if judges make orders and parties agree on orders, which is reflected in a court order. You can't make somebody a good parent. As much as you do what you can and you thrive, you cannot make someone a good parent. So what should you do is you follow the court orders. If you are to have the children available for the other parent at a specific time, at a specific date, you follow it. If there is an order that says a third party is not allowed, you follow it. If there is an order that says no drinking, you follow it, especially if you are in a court case. Not following court orders is one of the biggest mistakes. And ultimately, if somebody's not following a court order, then you call an attorney, like myself, if you're in California, and you find out what your options are. Sometimes we can file a motion to modify the orders if someone's not following it. And if we have the background facts to prove as an exhibit that this is not occurring, or this is not happening, or the other parent isn't available as they claimed or portrayed previously, then we have the documentation to back it up. And next question, what if you were never married? So if you're never married, then you actually have what's called a paternity action. And that is when two people have a child and they were not married. And the court has the ability to make the same orders over your children as if you were married. So it's a very similar process. You just have to file the necessary paperwork to start the action. And then you either come to an agreement, and I always tell my clients to reduce it to a writing. Make sure that your agreement is in writing, whether it's an agreement between the two of you and it's a simple text when you're modifying a time. You always want to make sure that you have it in writing. And that goes back to being flexible, because guess what? My favorite cases are when I create a proposal and we agree upon it, and I am giving you guys a base to follow that. And then you guys change it and modify it, and parents make it work for them, because what works for you today may not work for you in a year. And I love, as an attorney, to educate my clients, to allow them to be able to be flexible with the orders and to change them to what works for them and their kids, because I like providing the baseline. But then as a fallback, you always have orders if you can't come to an agreement. Another question I have is, do you have any tips for a smooth pickup and drop off? So I recommend that if the parents are somewhat emotional or there's some other issues going on, I always recommend drop off, curbside drop off. That allows one parent to drop off the children at the curb. They don't get out of the car, and then the other parent goes and gets the child from the car. That way there's not a lot of interaction in front of the children between the parents. Obviously that doesn't work for babies or for toddlers. It has to be an appropriate situation that would work for that age group. Sometimes police stations are necessary. I hate the children being exchanged at police stations. Sometimes it is necessary, but really think of what you're doing to the kids if every time they have to go see dad or mom, they have to do it in front of a police station. Starbucks is great. Coffee places, public places, anything that would eliminate the hostile emotional issues that may come across with a drop-off. And another tip, don't take third parties if there's an issue there. Try to make this time between you and your children, and try to show your children that you can have a communicative, easy drop-off with the other parent. That's something that I super highly suggest. We have a webinar coming up on our Custody Queens website that's called Divorce 101, and it goes over every aspect from custody visitation to financial issues and preparation, and that is coming up on August 10th. I highly suggest that if you have any of those issues, even if you're not married and you're looking for some more information regarding custody, check it out, watch the webinar. We have some great experts that will really get into more of these issues in detail. But as a mom, I can tell you, parenting is tough. It is not easy. It's not easy even when you're married. And so put your heart and your soul into your children, because they watch what you do. If you talk negatively about the other parent, they're going to start replicating that. So really put your heart into child rearing and raising your kids. And the healthier that you are as a person, seek therapy if you need it. I'm a firm believer in it. But the healthier that you are as a parent, the more successful you're going to be with your parenting and your co-parenting plan. It's just once it clicks and it works, I love seeing that happen for my clients. There's not a lot that makes me happier. And I love seeing that the children that I have been, in cases that I've been involved with, thrive. I love seeing pictures of co-parenting, but it's not easy. Put one foot in front of the other, take care of your side of the street, and remember that this is a journey. It is not a marathon.